Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey GT, what are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey kids, welcome back to another week of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% unbiased, completely impartial, and once again befuddled co-host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me as usual this week is MJ.
Hey, I am one of two people on this podcast whose team is in the top of their division, so I'm feeling good.
Yes. Jeez. I wish I could say that. And perhaps that other one who's got a team in the top, GT.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Great weekend all around. And yeah, we're sort of tied there, old man. But we have the edge because we won. But other than that, we have the same record. So we're all kind of winners this week.
Yeah, I can't complain with where we're at either. It's been a heck of a season. And Calgary, I don't know that I've figured them out yet, but they are looking so damn good. I will not be betting against them until somebody actually wins on them. That is such a turnaround. I can't believe it.
Yeah. No, and most of us can't. So there we go.
Yeah, we'll spend the rest of the country baffled. I guess I should start off. I usually do my fantasy recap and had a reasonable game last week, just shy of 100, 99.9 points. Unfortunately, not enough for the win. So I'm back under 500. I'm 3-4 now, but having big fun with it. And for anyone that wants to check out what I'm doing, I drop the Old Man Play CFL Fantasy on Thursday afternoons. Might be some helpful advice there, might not.
I was going to jump in there and just say, I've never done the fantasy game thing because it's always seemed like too much work. However, I am now sort of getting interested in the idea. So I might do a shadow game or two, just not officially, but just try to figure out how it works and see if I can put a few teams together in the next couple of weeks. And then I'll let you know how it goes. I haven't really looked at it yet, but I think I'm getting the basic concepts of it, so I might give it a shot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a crapshoot most weeks because it really is one or two of your players do really well, or do you pick one or two that go zero? And one week somebody will be fantastic, and the next week dropouts. I also want to say to all the folks listening and watching and that, I say this at the end, but I'll put this in right at the start. Please drop down a like for us, add a comment, subscribe. Those things all really help us out, get a logarithm on our side. So thank you for watching. Please help us out that way. And other than that, well, GT's got a new, unusual kind of crossover to talk to us about.
Yeah, this is something I saw online and then read the story in the Winnipeg Free Press, and I've seen a bunch of other people start talking about it too. And that's Crankshaft, which is a comic strip in the U.S. that's syndicated in over 360 different newspapers across the country. And apparently the writer and illustrator has been a Bomber fan since 2011 when the NFL was on strike, and he found the CFL. And as he put it, fell in love with the Bombers because they have the coolest name in football. So since then, he's dropped them into various parts of his comic strip, and the characters will all of a sudden have on a Bomber hat or a Bomber sweatshirt or something like that. Winnipeg picked up on this and sent him a bunch of swag back as early as 2013, which cemented the relationship. And then they invited him up to a game. So he had planned one, and then COVID, like everything else, so many things that got in the way of, he wasn't able to come up until last year when he finally made it up to his first game in Winnipeg. And now he's putting into the comic strip over the course of an entire month, the storyline arc of the trip of the characters going to Winnipeg, driving to Winnipeg for their first game to see the Blue Bombers. And apparently it's sort of based on what really happened. He led the team out of the tunnel last year. They've done all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be in over 360 papers for over a month. The Bombers are going to be part of it. I think it's to see more exposure in a new marketplace. And I thought it was kind of cool. And so, yeah, there's a really good story in the Winnipeg Free Press if anybody wants to go look it up. But that's the basic outline of it. You know, we've always saw those little blips on The Simpsons or something like that where they would they'd laughingly refer to the CFL, and it was always sort of tongue in cheek, and we were all excited because we made it onto The Simpsons. But it was always kind of like they were poking fun at us at the same time, you know. But this is more done in a positive light, apparently. So overall, it's just another neat kind of exposure thing. So I thought I would mention it.
And if he's been a Bomber fan since 2011, then I'm looking forward to the Riders showing up as the supervillains in this.
Yeah, I wonder who they're playing in the comic strip.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because last year the game he was at was against the Ticats. So I don't know whether it will be the Tiger Cats or not, but over the course of the month, I guess we'll find out. Apparently, the comic strip's also available online. You don't have to have a subscription to one of those newspapers. The comic strip is just called Crankshaft. So, and that's the main character's name. So.
Good. I'll have to check that out.
Fun.
Yeah, it is. I love things. And like you said, great exposure.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, MJ, I understand Marc-Antoine Dequoy had some choice words at the interview at the end of the last game.
So if you don't think players pay attention and like have their feelings hurt a little bit, you are mistaken. So after the Alouettes game, Marc-Antoine Dequoy had the interview with Shanetti, and you can just tell he's thrown. I feel like Luke Wilson's going to live rent-free in my head this episode. But anyway, carrying on. He was talking after the game, and Marc-Antoine Dequoy was talking about how like the CFL is an amazing game and it has amazing players, and that the last 3 minutes of the game are the most important minutes of the game. And I was like, maybe the CFL should showcase a little bit more than Luke Wilson. It's a little bit more fun.
I love to hear the players speaking up for the league. All righty. Well, good. Let's see. What else? GT, the Tiger Cats are doing something special.
Yeah, SGA, or Shay Gilgis Alexander, is of course the Canadian, and he is the MVP of the NBA this year, most valuable player in the NBA, most valuable player in the championship, in the finals, and also won the championship, the finals for the Oklahoma Thunder. And he's from Hamilton originally, and he's he's top probably 3 basketball players in the entire world at this stage. He's unbelievable. And so Hamilton is doing a big rally and a tribute to him. They're doing it on August the 7th, and they're giving him the keys to the city, which is only the second time that's ever happened in Hamilton. And it was somebody who got it was arrested. It was really weird who was the first guy to get it. And they're doing it in advance of the Ticat game on the 7th. And I believe it's going to be at the stadium, the rally itself. And then they're going to have him again at the game that night, August 7th. So I think it's a great exposure to draw a lot of people that may not be absolutely Ticat fans, but there's such a huge basketball fandom now in this country. And he's just as I said, he's one of the top 3 players in the entire world. Everybody knows who he is, and it's going to be really good draw, really good crosstalk. There's a handful or more of in fact, there's more like 20 Canadian basketball players right now in the NBA. We have the second most number of national players outside of the U.S. in the entire league worldwide. And I always wanted to do like an interview with these guys and say, okay, so what are your CFL memories? You know, what were you doing when you were growing up? Like SGA, did you ever grow to Iverwin? Was it a big deal? I mean, a guy like Chris Boucher was around in Montreal when the Alouettes and Calvillo were at their prime. Kelly Olynyk grew up in Saskatchewan. He's got to be a rider guy. Just like there's got to be some kind of tie-in that you can bring. It's a way to attract a younger audience because basketball skews so much younger than the CFL does. And if you could get that little bit of crosstalk, it's just got to help. And if they can say, yeah, I love that game. I grew up listening or watching them. I think that would be also real good for the league. So I think this is a real nice tie-in, and I thought, again, it was worth talking.
Okay. Any thoughts, MJ, being the Hamilton,
Yeah, like just a couple. One, my husband's very excited about this rally because he's a huge basketball fan and he's a big CFL fan. So this is like a crossover dream come true for him. And the city of Hamilton does sports really well. Like with the Ticats, with the Forge. One time the city of Hamilton made like the city hall had a tiger as like one of the shrubs. They cut it into a tiger for the Ticats. So it's just like a city that really rallies around their sports teams. And I guess what's their AHL team, the Bulldogs or something? Yeah. So I mean, it's just good sports city. So perfect. Great crossover. Love it.
Yeah, love to see them honoring a native son, even though it's from another sport. Like you said, it's a great promotion, but it's just a good thing to do. We talked a bit about this last week, so we're just going to really quickly now talk about the fact that we don't know who is doing the Grey Cup halftime show yet. So we thought we might help the CFL out a little bit, give them some suggestions. So each of us has got one act we're going to put out there and see what you think about it. Let CFL see what they think. How about you, MJ? You want to start us off?
Well, my top, if you're going to go Canadian, my top choice is the Beaches. They are just flying high right now. Like your pie in the sky is Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that would be it. Wow.
I mean, if you're going to like just shoot for the stars, just let's do it.
Well, if the Bombers get back and Zach's in it, he's friends with Kelsey. So you
Travis.
never know.
So, I mean, it just might work out.
All righty. So Beaches and Taylor Swift, that's two, but we'll let you bend the rules.
Okay, well,
there.
one was Canadian, one was American.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, GT?
I'm going to let you go first and I'll finish.
Okay, because I'll go in here now, but I'm, I don't know, maybe calling a trick play, something completely out of left field, but I would actually love to see this. It's in Winnipeg. I'd love to have them have the Royal Winnipeg Ballet doing some of their modern interpretive dance, because I've seen them do numbers that are just as raw and visceral and emotional as you would never believe it. Seeing it live can get your heart pumping like you wouldn't believe. The best one I saw was years ago, based on Salish legends from the West Coast, and it was their opening dance at a show, and I was literally buzzing for about 15 minutes afterwards. So it'd be something completely new and different, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yes.
I have a bit of a cheat sheet in a few minutes here, more than just a one act, because I was involved in some degree with a lot of the acts that have performed at the Grey Cup over the last 25 years. A very close friend of mine was the person that worked with the CFL putting the acts onto the stage, so I know the process. I'm wondering if the Universal Music, who previously had the kind of official, unofficial music supplier, is now backed away from it because they don't seem to be there in the same kind of way they have been in the past. And that was the connection that I had before via Universal Music. So it was my suggestion for this year is Neil Young. I mean, he's a Winnipegger.
Oh.
He's local. He's just finishing his tour in mid-September and finishing the worldwide tour, and finishes in LA in mid-September. That's what I was checking earlier. And so he has dates available. He's just got the road show has been with the Chrome Heart. So it's him and the band. It's not just Neil and doing acoustic stuff. So he could rock it out as well as do some, classics. It satisfies that superstar act that's never played something, satisfy the Canadian content, satisfies the hometown crowd. It just hits so many buttons. I think it would be tremendous. And I appreciate the Beaches. I appreciate the Beaches on one level, but I just don't know that they have enough cachet to be able to pull it off as the act and where the league wants to go. They would be a great opening act, the pregame kind of act. They want somebody with that massive draw at halftime. And I don't think necessarily the Beaches would fill, but I just think, you got to go big or go home. As we've seen in the last couple of years, that it doesn't necessarily need to be a Canadian act. I think this year it should be. And I just kind of think Neil fills all those kind of buttons, hits all those buttons. So I would love to see Neil Young and the Chrome Hearts be the halftime.
I had him on my short list when I was thinking about this. The only reason I went away is I know the league gets criticized a certain amount for having too many old acts, people that have been around forever, and Neil definitely fits into that.
They could split it up like how they did with Justin Bieber and Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, that was probably the weirdest combo I've ever seen. It was the 100, so it made perfect sense, but it was the strangest combo I've ever seen. And yeah, they didn't do a good job of melding those two acts together at all. That was the problem. Not necessarily the acts themselves, but just how they kind of threw them out there was not well done. I've seen some better jobs, definitely, than that one particularly. Okay, so while we're on the subject, very quickly, favorite halftime performance that you've seen? Just curious. Yeah, and both of you. Let's go.
Green Day.
Green Day.
Green Day was my app. That's my high school experience. So this is like my
it works.
My generational depth. I just loved them.
Yep.
Great.
It was tremendous. It was number 2 to me. I think you'd be surprised at my number 1.
Okay. Unfortunately, my answer is none. I can't remember the last time I watched a halftime show for the Grey Cup.
Go.
If I've been at them live, I'm off obviously concessions and stuff. And if I'm watching from here, we usually have people over and I'm talking during that time. I'm uncultured.
I think the best act I've seen is Nickelback. Nickelback was unbelievable. They had so much pyro. They had so much going on. It was great. And Green Day was tremendous as well. Yeah, it was really good. And the other one, like everybody talks about the Shania Twain coming in on this, with the Mounties and all that good stuff. But I really, really liked the one in Saskatchewan. Who was it now? Why am I drawing a blank? Starts with an H. Headley in Saskatchewan. Now, he's not a good guy. He's a very bad person. Very, very bad person. But that performance with the snowmobiles going
with the
over top behind him,
snowmobiles.
that was unbelievable. We've had some great acts. And my worst performance I think I've seen was one of my favorite bands was Blue Rodeo. They were so boring.
They were not a very good halftime show.
No, it just didn't work at all. And I love the band, but that just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
So.
I also enjoyed Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching Lenny.
Anyways, there we go. I think we've talked about halftime act. So
I think we can talk. GT and I will talk about halftime acts for the next hour.
There we go. And I'd have to sit and listen because now I can name at least 6 people that I didn't know before had done acts. Okay. Now, last week, MJ, you told us about a new podcast, Paper Plates. I understand you've seen it now?
I watched it, so you don't have to.
Fill us in.
So their first guest was Luke Wilson, and they let Luke talk for pretty much an hour and 23 minutes about himself and
Hold
about
on,
his...
half a sec.
Okay.
Just in case there's anybody that didn't hear you tell about it last week, tell people exactly what the podcast is, and then we'll get into that.
Okay, so it's Davis Sanchez and Milt Stegall, and they are just doing a weekly show. And they didn't really tell anyone what it was about or what it was going on. They just kind of said, we're doing a show on YouTube. So their first guest was Luke Wilson. So on their 3 screen, it was Sanchez, Luke Wilson in the middle, and then Milt. And they let Luke pretty much run his mouth for an hour and 23 minutes. Sanchez agreed with a lot of what he said, and Milt looked pretty pissed off for a lot of it. They spent a lot of time complaining about the Canadian ratio and Canadian offensive linemen and how annoying it is that they hide Canadians on the O-line. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, Canadian offensive linemen, don't listen. Don't listen, boys. You're working so hard. Don't listen to these guys. And they talked a lot about the 4 downs and the 3 minutes, which is like Dequoy was, yeah, and like all three of them were like, well, Milt's idea was like each team should have like a certain amount of 4 downs they can use. I think Sanchez's thing was like after you get to the 20, if you're in the red zone, then you get 4 downs. And I was like, Sanchez, you played in the CFL. Like, why do you not like CFL football? Anyway, and then they complained about Twitter and how toxic it is. And I was like, you could also be on Blue Sky.
Yep.
But it was just kind of Luke Wilson, like being like, I'm not a bad guy. I'm so like, guys, I do lots of like, I say lots of good things too. And then just like kind of went off. So we'll see who their next guest is tomorrow.
Yeah, I watched the first 2/3 of it, and then I didn't get into all the rule stuff, so I didn't see that portion. My first thought was perfect guest to have in the first week. You're looking for audience. He's the hottest guy to have on there for the audience to get views and to sort of get people interested in it. So I thought it was great that way. I thought he did a pretty good job again of explaining some of his stuff. He's, way into the weeds on some things that we just don't care about. But I thought he did a pretty good job of explaining some of his stuff and trying to make himself look a little nicer than he actually is, or than he's come across at least. And he did admit fully sometimes that he's just out there for clicks. It's part of what he has to do. So some of it is just clickbait, and you have to always assume that. But then when you got into MJ, when you start talking about the rules things, I'm so glad I didn't sit through that.
I agree with you, GT, that it probably brought them in a bigger audience amongst the audience we're trying to attract, the ones that aren't already CFL fans. It probably cost them some audience in us true CFL fans, because I didn't know that the podcast was out. It was a very busy week for me. But if I had known and that Luke Wilson was the guest, I would not have bothered.
Yeah.
I can't take, my blood pressure can't take listening to him ramble on with all of his stuff.
So did you hear them talking about how like the CFL should be treated as an NFL farm team?
It was interesting because they went through this in 2 different ways. They approached it as it came up as whether it should be a feeder league or not, and that's the term they used. And then they all 3 of them said, well, it is a feeder league because every player in the world wants to be in the NFL. What they didn't then say is, but that doesn't mean we don't have to be NFL light, because then you're just dead. No one wants to be NFL light. One of the things they pointed out, and I think it was Sanchez that talked about it and Milt agreed. I don't think Wilson had any opinion on it. The CFL and TSN needs to allow them to talk about guys that are either just coming from the NFL or going to go to the NFL. Like my caption for this week on the Stampeder board is, say goodbye to Alford. He's not going to be here next year.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to be here next year. They should be talking that up now on the broadcast. They should be saying, this guy's a star. He is going to go and instead of trying to ignore the elephant in the room, use the elephant to your advantage. Ride it to the ground. Go on it. Both Milt and Shay said they've been told that they're not allowed to even mention the NFL online or on the broadcast. They've just been said, you're not allowed to do that. And they're like, why? Why can't we do that? And I agree with them. So I thought there was some good points in the discussion, but I would have went tilt when they started talking about changing the rules.
As far as a feeder league goes, like you said, in essence, it is that, because if a player's good enough, he'll go and play for big money in the States. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But making it a formal feeder league, no. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
A few other quick little things. GT, you were mentioning that the Kick to Win is back.
Yeah, I saw this come out too, and now it's really weird because I haven't found it again. It's another contest with another major sponsor that they've announced, and yet it's not on the CFL webpage. And I'm like, who's running that page? But Old Dutch has now brought back the Kick to Win. So it's not exactly the same as the old Tim Hortons Kick to Win, but it's the same basic idea. Now it's $500,000 instead of $1 million. And there's slightly different setup, but it's basically the same thing. You enter your name and and if your name's drawn, you compete against a couple of a bunch of other people, and eventually there's going to come down to a kickoff, and I think it's going to be at the Western Final is where the kickoff's going to be held, and it's going to be for $500,000. Old Dutch is willing to spend that kind of money, and if they're willing to put promotion into it, it's great. And somehow the league needs to be on top of this more and just making sure everyone's aware of it.
So are they doing sort of like weekly stuff and then the best get to go to this final one, or do you have any details on that?
I don't have all the details because even the Old Dutch site doesn't have tremendous details on it. What I understand, you enter, then they're going to pick some names, and then they're going to do a kickoff, but it's not going to be in every city like the last one was. And if you remember, the final was with Dunnigan at halftime, and the guy won the $10,000 stereo from Future Shop, and then he missed the next one, and then he won the $1 million. And it was a big contest. Oh, no, it was Wendy's, not Tim Hortons.
Wendy's.
It was Wendy's kick to win. Yes, it was.
Okay,
it was
Wendy's. Better get that right.
Almost
We don't want lawsuits.
Almost a mea culpa. Yes, it was Wendy's.
Don't want Tim Hortons.
Yes,
exactly.
We want to be careful with mea culpas to the corporate people. They get serious.
Yeah, it was Wendy's. That's right.
Okay. All righty. MJ, I think some people know about this, but you were going to tell us about Ryan Hunter's really bad, terrible, not good day.
Oh, yeah, poor guy. Coming back off the bye, was riding his scooter to practice and got hit by a car. Kudos for you to even ride a scooter in Toronto. That seems like a... Are you allowed to do that in your contract?
Not after this, no.
No, I hope you were wearing your helmet. But he's out 6 to 8 weeks with a shoulder injury. How big was this car? Anyway, poor Ryan. Get well soon, buddy. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. And what is it with CFL linesmen and car accidents? We had, well, two of them are riders or ex-riders, but we had, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, Dan Clark, a week before training camp, rolled his car 3 or 4 times in the ditch. And not throwing any shade at Mr. Hunter, but Clark was ready to go for training camp. He said afterwards, oh, it's a car crash. I go into 60 or 70 of those every game. So there was that. But then I also saw earlier Brandon Labatt, who's retired, or never officially retired, but isn't playing football anymore, was in a, I think it was a stock car race and ended up rolling his car 3 or 4 times about 2 weeks ago. So old linemen should maybe stay away from cars for the next little bit.
And scooters.
Yes, and scooters, especially that. Yeah, if you're going to get in an accident, make sure you're at least in something of equal size.
Yes.
Shawn Lemmon's coming back to Montreal, GT.
Yeah, he's already signed. He signed immediately after getting reinstated because last week we talked about the possibility of him getting reinstated. He was reinstated the day, of course, after we spoke, and then signed the day after that in Montreal. He's still on suspension for his 2 weeks worth of PEDs, I think it was, but he served the first one was last week against Toronto because he signed the day before, and then this week he's not allowed to play. Then the first week he's back, I think, is against Saskatchewan the week after that. That adds to that defense that's been sort of terrifying most of the season already. So it's going to be, makes them even more formidable. But I don't know whether it's true or not, but I did hear through the grapevine and something that now Johnny Manziel's asking to be reinstated.
Oh, yeah, right. Like there'd be the same reaction from teams rushing up.
Arlen Bruce IV is also asking for a reinstatement.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is the box they've opened up, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll have people from the 50s.
Yeah.
Hey, I was suspended.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's back for only one reason. It allows him now to at least get into the record books, not to be expunged, not to be completely forgotten about, and possibly it allows him to go still into the Hall of Fame, which he wouldn't have been able to do serving that indefinite suspension. Even if he just finishes out this year and then gracefully retires, I think that then that allows him back into getting into those places where he deserves to be based on his playing career.
I'm sure Sasky fans will be happy. He's back for their game, but it's his first game back, so maybe he'll still have some rust on him. I think we've covered off all the little tidbits from this week, I believe. Don't think we've missed anything. So maybe we should talk about what we're really here for, football games.
Absolutely.
And we started out last week with a little bit of a surprise game.
Oh.
Toronto 24 at Montreal 26. Anybody want to start on this?
Toronto started as hot as a pistol, and then just couldn't sustain through the fourth quarter. Montreal started bizarre as I've ever seen a team start, where they refused to run the ball at all until a minute left in the first half, and then as soon as they did, they all of a sudden their offense started clicking. So it was like, well, what did you wait that long for? Toronto, they lost it in the fourth quarter. They just, all the momentum went out in that third quarter and into the fourth, and they just couldn't sustain it when they needed to. And unfortunately, the worst part of this is that Montreal has now lost Davis Alexander again for up to 6 weeks. He's on the 6-week disabled list with that Charlie horse, or the the strain. So it's not good for them in one way. Even though they kept pace with Hamilton by the win, it's going to be hard for them to stay there. And all of a sudden, they're not looking like that shoe-in that we talked about at the beginning of the season. So, it was an interesting game. There was McFadden had an amazing game for Toronto, just amazing. And yet that even those things that he was doing wasn't enough. Their defense played very well until midway through the third quarter, and then couldn't do anything from there. Couldn't stop Montreal once Montreal got on a roll.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching with my kid who's the Alouettes fan, and we were like, we're just going to turn this off after the third. Like, we need to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait. So Montreal only needed to play one quarter of football to beat the Argos. And just quickly too, I think they rushed Alexander back because of how McLeod Bethel Thompson played. But now, when rushing him back when he was not ready, he's re-injured that he's on the 6-game injured list, and now you're back to where you started and actually in even worse position. So I'm not sure about the decision making there. And then they kept panning to Sean Thomas Erlington on the sideline. Every time they talked about them not running the ball, like every once in a while, they just panned to him on the sideline, like being the shady TSN people that they are. And I was like, what is that? What is Montreal doing? Like, what? And then it was nice to see Mac Mahone back, and he was really good in the first half, then kind of just faded out there once Montreal got ticking. But it was nice for the Argos to have him back.
The Argos seem to me like they're almost in the spot where Edmonton had got to the last few years, where they get into a game where they have a chance of winning and they start tightening up and don't want to make a mistake, and that makes mistakes happen with it. It was a very bizarre game. They were talking about with the fact, well, it's not a decision not to run. A lot of these RPOs, it's up to the quarterback to pull the ball or give it to the running back. They could all be running plays. Yeah, but if you're an offensive coordinator and you want to get the running game going, you call running plays, sometimes at least.
You have to establish the run. Like, you have to.
Yeah, it gets awful ugly if you don't.
Yeah.
And it was odd because it's not like Toronto's stopped the run every week so far. So, it's like, I don't know why they weren't using it in the first half. It was so obvious. I mean, everyone on television and everybody in the audience everywhere watching were like, where's the run game? And they talked about it. And then finally they handed the ball off, and it was immediate results. It was immediate results. So
I was acutely aware of it because I had Sean Thomas Erlington in my fantasy team. We go for football where he doesn't touch the ball, and I'm starting to get a little upset. It was a bit of a weird game and took Montreal a while to warm up, but I think they deserved the credit in that quarter that they played. A couple of things that I thought were interesting was Suter he said early in the game, I think the safeties are going to be involved here because there's two very good safeties in this game. And strangely enough, he pretty much called it because Toronto's, someone help me with the name, I can never pronounce it, Sluka. Toronto safety. Sluka. Yeah, Sluka ripped the ball out of Speaker's hands just before he crossed the goal line and saved a touchdown. And then at the end of the game, once Montreal took the lead and needed to hold on to it, it was a Dequoy blitz that caused that interception. So Suter called it.
is very lucky that Arbuckle had his arm up because he was leading with his helmet.
Yeah, that was not a smart one, and we'll talk about stuff like that a little bit later. But
I was almost going to put that into news, but I thought we'd talk about it in each of the games. But certainly something that just overall they've got to get under control. It's just too much.
Yeah,
Too much.
exactly.
Every game this week
Every game.
had something.
Like, what are the defensive coordinators doing? My
Yeah.
other,
It's technique. It's something like it's just got to
I don't know. Yeah.
I think we know where the most egregious one was, so we'll talk about that when we get to that game with it.
My other quirky thing about this game is that in 9 minutes and 26 seconds left in the third, Jason Moss had no timeouts left and no challenges left. So he played a whole there, and then they turned around that fourth quarter with like nothing.
Yep.
Like they just had to do it. So I was, because I was like, Jason Moss, no. And then I was like, oh, you didn't need them. All right, carry on.
And then I felt bad for Speaker because he played a fairly good game, and then he was going in for the go-ahead touchdown, and he gets the ball ripped out just before that.
Yeah.
And the next time he gets a shot at it is the 2-point conversion that hits him right in the hands, and he drops it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a rough end to the game for him. And the only other thing that I wanted to say, I mentioned, I think was it last week or 2 weeks ago, was talking about the fact that you see quarterbacks, it was Zach I was talking about, they throw an interception and they run down the DB, but not really. They're not going to get involved. And full credit to Alexander. When he threw his one pick there, even on his bad leg, he was the one that made the tackle. He went full after. That's what a young quarterback does for you.
Yeah. He probably got in trouble for that, though.
Oh, I'm sure he did. But I love the effort, though. And hey, however much are they going to yell at him? I got to agree with what you said, MJ, by the way, about them bringing him back. And frankly, this is the same thing they did last year with Cody Fajardo. They put him on the 6-game list and then decided, oh, no, we can't have him there. We've got to get him back out. So they brought him back out early, and he wasn't the same the rest of the season. And now with Alexander, we're hearing that this is a hamstring injury he's been fighting since the offseason in his training. And you've still got him out there playing when I don't know how much they're going to get out of him this season. That's one thing I'm not impressed with.
It's not like a knee where you can brace it or an elbow where you can't wrap up a hamstring well enough to like sprint on it and pivot.
Not at all. My experience with the hamstring is you can't sprint anyway because as soon as you try to put pressure on it, it goes away. So it must have been largely healed for him. But you could see as soon as it popped again on that last run, it was obvious. All right, enough of that one.
Enough of that.
Next night, a game that GT is going to hate talking about.
Yeah, worst game. Terrible.
Yeah, worst game of the week, obviously. We had Calgary. Remember 3 weeks ago now, everybody, including I think us, was talking about the fact that Calgary's coming into the gauntlet. They've got Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, and Montreal. And conventional wisdom was if they can win 2 of these, they're a much better team and they've got a shot. Well, we're 3 weeks in after beating Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. This week was Calgary 41 at Winnipeg 20. Not even close. And I mean, there was some stuff to it that I could see. Winnipeg had Bryant out on the 1-game list, and I don't even remember who they had in at tackle for him, but he was basically a turnstile. It did not look very good. And going up against Urimilati, was that. And then about the only other 2 things that I kind of said, they also lost Shawn to the 6th game, which is going to impact them. But about the only other things, and I'm going to let you guys talk a lot more about it because there was lots to go. But the highlights for me was what you said about Alfred. He won't be here long. He just another fantastic game. He looks so bloody good. He does not look like a rookie at all. And 2nd game against Winnipeg in a row that Webb got himself a pick 6. So he'll be happy.
Try.
Yeah, well, on either of them, really. I mean, he tried. He was obviously trying. But Zach made it look very easy, didn't he? Okay, so who else wants to talk about what they saw? Because there was lots of great plays, but I want to leave this more for you guys.
Oh, GT, it's your team. Let's hear it.
Well, I said a couple weeks ago last week against Saskatchewan that I thought it was the O-line and the D-line's game that changed, that was their game that won that. This week, this was a Vernon Adams game. I mean, he just was unbelievable. The one play to Alfred where he dropped back, scrambled around, did a complete Savardian spinorama 360, and as he was turning back around, launched it down the field, and Alfred standing there alone because the DB fell down. It was unbelievable. And that was just one of many, but it was the most striking. And that's where I just wrote down, this is a VA game. I mean, this is just, he was doing everything right. I don't know when he's going to have that quote unquote, bad VA game that we're all waiting for. But until he does, he's unbelievable at this stage. He's got to be the leading candidate for MOP in the West right now, I would think. But I thought overall the defense again is they're just doing stuff right. It's the rookie had an interception. Everything is working. I don't know. It's crazy the stuff that's going on, and big play after big play. When Adrian Green got that interception in the end zone when it looked like Strevler was going to bring Winnipeg back. And it wasn't just that he made the interception, it was how he made it. There was the guy was just barely over the line. It was a perfectly thrown ball, and he came from nowhere, stepped in front of it, brought it out of the end zone and into the 10 or 15-yard line. And that was, and then Calgary drove the field and was scored with that Alfred touchdown. That's a 14-point swing right there. They're just doing stuff that no one, including myself, and I think including even the most loyal Stampeder fans, thought that this team was going to be able to do this year. And yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at their schedule saying, yikes.
That spinorama pass, that was pure athletic talent. You could not practice that or anything. He didn't set or anything. He literally used the momentum of the spin for the throw. Yeah. And the other thing you were saying, when do we get that bad VA game? As long as their O-line is playing the way it is, I don't think we get it. Because the only time I've ever seen VA get bad games is when he starts getting hit and rattled, and that bothers anybody. But it seems like he starts to push then and makes mistakes. As long as they're just letting him stand back there and play, oh, God.
No, and he's got Alfred and Rhymes to throw to, and Philpott, and Brooks. It was like such an optical, this game was such an optical illusion. The best punt that was ever punted happened in this game. When Bassett punted from the 35 and it stopped dead on the 1 yard line.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I've never seen a better punt, I don't think. Yeah. That was a work of art.
Yes. Well, to stop it there. I mean, I've seen ones that are very pretty that go out just before the pylon or something.
No, just to
stop it inside the one.
And stop. Aussie punters.
They do know their stuff. Yeah. Yes, they do. The only thing that I can see that frankly gives any hope to the rest of the league is the fact that this defense that Slowick's got going in Calgary is new. I don't think we've seen him in the CFL. I think he was all NFL from before there. Enough time, maybe the defensive coordinators start finding some holes in it. But Winnipeg had 2 weeks and a bye to do that and couldn't. So but
are they playing Winnipeg and Saskatchewan again? Are they done with those teams this year?
No, they play them both again.
Once more. Okay.
They play Saskatchewan in mid-August in Calgary and Winnipeg again in September in Calgary.
They've already got the series over Winnipeg and a good point lead because they only play Saskatchewan twice. So unless Saskatchewan can come back and beat them by, because what was it? Wasn't it like 15 points last week or something? I don't remember. But anyway, it would have to be a pretty conclusive win for Saskatchewan in Calgary. And that would be a tough.
And Bob Slowick was the defensive coordinator in Montreal 2 regimes ago before he moved to Calgary. So he was a DC there for a year in the midst of all the nonsense where they were changing coaches left, right, and center. And I think before the Kahari Jones or just around the Kahari Jones stuff. And then he moved over to Calgary and was basically the D-line coach for the last couple of years. So he's been around a little bit.
Yeah, because didn't he come in? I can't remember the name now, but after Trestman left, they brought up another American coach who knew nothing as a head coach. And I think Slowick came up with him now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This team lives or dies by VA though, right? Like if I hope he doesn't get injured because like this is just it's a lot of fun.
VA gets hurt. It's a lot of fun watching him play, and he gets hurt. He's gonna hurt their chances. But
Yeah.
that defense will hold them in games, and they'll be able to beat some teams. I could see them beating some teams with Walker, even if he has bad games, just if that defense plays that kind of lights out ball.
Yeah, there's two things there. I think we can say that about every team at this stage, right? Like, I mean, every team, if they loses their number one guy, as we've seen in every, in 3 cities in the East at least, they're in trouble. And I agree with you if VA goes down, because he's just such a leader right now and is doing magical things, as we've said every week. So yeah, they'd be in big trouble. And I'm not sure about the defense. The defense is going to have to hold, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The only team right now that worries me against this defense, well, there's 2 of them, and then one of them's coming up this week. And then I also worry about Hamilton. I worry about them for different reasons. Montreal, because they're going to blitz like crazy, and that's what I was going to say. And Calgary hasn't really had a blitzing defense thrown at them yet. And Hamilton, because Hamilton's going to send guys deep, and Calgary really hasn't had a consistent deep throwing team against them yet. So those are the 2 wrinkles that their defense has to play to so far. So
that's true. The other thing that where VA going down could hurt them is not so much just the physical play, but possibly the morale and the emotions, because they're a team that's brand new. They've pulled together in a hurry, and they're playing a lot of what they're doing, I think, is just on sheer belief.
Yeah.
They think we're this good and we're going to be this good. If they lose VA for anything for more than a few games, and as a result they lose a couple in a row, that's a situation where that could turn on them a bit. But let's hope the line keeps them clean, because personally, as much as I want a different team to end up winning the Grey Cup, a full season of VA playing that kind of ball with the rest of the team around them, that is great for the league. It's
absolutely
just entertainment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would be no matter what jersey this team had on it, it'd be so much fun to watch, right? It's one of those teams that right now you don't even care what the jersey is. You're just watching it and going, wow, this is so much fun to watch. So
how can you not like it? He's such a nice guy. Like, all of his interviews are so nice. He's always doing stuff in the community. Like, he's always taking his O-line. They always have posts of him taking his O-line out for food. And like, that's a team who's bought in top down on their quarterback. And it's great.
I love every time he does an interview. Every time he does an interview, he ends it with "Go Stamps." And he has this little grin on and his little sparkle in his eyes. It doesn't matter what else. Even if he almost forgets, he turns around and goes, "Go Stamps." It's it's pretty funny. It's kind of cute.
The Stamps put out a TikTok, Instagram reel today, and they're like, we asked Chat GPT to do Vernon Adams, and it was like, God bless, go Stamps.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like he does that the way he does it, especially with his voice and everything. I feel like that's one thing, is showing support for the Stamps, but I feel like it's also a bit of a shot at Kelly in Montreal with the way he ends every thing with "Go Argos," It's so tough for NBA. Nah. Yeah. Anything else to?
Oh yes, I just want to dampen the fun a little bit. I'm just going to bring it down and talk about Willie Jefferson's spearing. And we're just going to talk about people being awful.
Yeah.
They're like, no. And Winnipeg took a lot of, they were hitting late a lot on VA, and they took a lot of 15-yard penalties, that spearing penalty. And I was like, okay, guys, we understand you're mad. You lost the Stampede Bowl, but you can't be doing this. Clean it up.
There's just too much of it going on. And they're trying to set, these players are now, oh, well, it wasn't, I was leading, I was tackling. No, it's not that anymore. We've gone past that stage. And now they're not headhunting, but they're certainly not, although Amos, I looked like he was headhunting, but they're certainly not thinking about what they're doing. They are leading with their helmets again. And this, I don't know where it's come from and why it's happening so much as it is, when it's just, it hasn't been there for quite a while. And now all of a sudden, not one player, not one team, multiple teams, multiple players are leading, and they shouldn't be.
I agree with that completely. To me, they talk about intent. Was he trying to be dirty, or did it just happen?
Matter.
Intent Yeah, intent is irrelevant. The rule says you can't hit a player that way. You are expected to play within the rules. And that's what the rule is. So if you don't do it, you are in the wrong. A receiver can't have a ball bounce off the ground and pick it up quick and go, well, close enough. It's
Dominic
you just
Rhymes
can't
tried it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's
did.
true.
He sold it
But,
almost.
yeah, several have. But I will be serious. Here's my other hot take for the game. I think you want to get those penalties out of those plays out of the game where people are injured. They were talking, why wasn't Amos ejected? He should have been ejected. But if you
Absolutely.
do something that is a unnecessary roughness, and I don't want to say blatant because that sounds like intent, but if you want to do something where you've obviously made that mistake that bad and injured a guy, automatic suspension for the same number of games he misses. You take a guy out for 6 games, you're out for 6 games. Yes, it lowers the talent pool in the league, but it's going to stop those things from happening. And I mean, the other team doesn't get a choice of, if Drew Brown is out for 6 weeks, they don't get to say, well, we didn't want that to happen either. So yeah, that's my take on it.
That goes back to the whole Collaros argument from a couple of years ago, right? And how that played out. Not Collaros, sorry,
Mazzoli.
Sorry, yeah, Mazzoli. Yeah, that whole incident and how that played out. And I think the argument at that stage is somewhat legitimate. I'm not sure that you can do it on a. It's got to be at least a game, though. There should be that should have been ejection of that game and quite possibly another game added on that for that kind of a hit on Brown the other night. They're just when it's when they literally give you a 25-yard penalty and call it spearing level 2 or whatever it was called, that's mean every other league you get extra, you get more than that, and that should have been an instant ejection, and then I can see being another game suspension at least on top of that, but it's not going to be. He's going to get a fine, half a game pay, that's it.
While we're on the subject, I hate when they're like, he's a nice guy, he wouldn't mean to do this. I don't care if you rescue puppies in your free time and volunteer at the children's hospital. If you're hitting people helmet to helmet and like launching yourself at them, it has nothing to do with you being a nice person. Like, you are hitting people with your helmet. And 25-yard penalties are seemingly not doing a job at deterring this.
No, and like I said, the other part of it to me is it's just how unfair it is. The team that's injured gets the bulk of the penalty by not having especially if it's a star player, by not having them available.
I don't watch Dustin Crum and McLeod Bethel Thompson, and like, no one's watching to watch backups. Part of the reason we're watching is we're watching VA throw to Alford. We're watching Collaros throw, we're watching for dynamite superstar quarterbacks. And you're not random, but like, you're less superstar-y, like, guy who's just gonna hit him in the helmet is not the reason we're watching these.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had the example. I mean, the next game we're going to talk about, Saskatchewan and BC, wasn't the best game of the week by any means, but it was a far better game with Harris and Rourke in there than the one 2 weeks before with Mazzoli. So we want them in there now. And whether it was bad management or what, it looks like we're going to not have Davis Alexander for up to 6 weeks. Anyway, anything else, MJ, on that game before we move on? You were the last one.
Just that my mom is a huge diehard Edmonton fan, and she was like, I'm cheering for VA.
How can you not?
It's been bringing us all together. We're all cheering for VA. So
he's the new Mazzoli, and he's still got the play in him, and that's so bizarre. One of the things that I'm sitting here asking myself right now is, what's BC feeling like about the choice they made on which quarterback to keep and which one to trade?
I was like, but I don't think they would treat VA the same as Calgary is.
No, they probably wouldn't have, but it's just, of the 2 quarterbacks, you can see which one's performing this year.
I don't think VA performs as well in BC as he is in Calgary right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think the Calgary offense has been designed for him, and they've done a great job designing an offense for him. And I don't care what Rourke does. I don't think the team around him is just good enough. He doesn't have an offensive line and he doesn't have a defense. And between those two things, no matter how well he plays, they're not going to win enough games. They're just not.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's his fault. I think if he had an offensive line and if he had a defense that allowed him to keep the ball, I think he has decent receivers. I don't think he has outstanding receivers anymore. So unless you're playing Edmonton or maybe Ottawa or maybe Toronto, if Toronto stays bad, but you're playing a half decent team, it's not going to, as saw this week and probably again next week, it's not going to happen. And I don't think it's his fault.
I don't think it's his fault. I think he's doing everything he can. Even with a great team, I don't know that he's still the quarterback he appeared to be in that short stretch of 2022. But the other thing you're right, though, is his play in BC wasn't as good. And to me, the main difference there was they had a crappy O-line last year, too. And like I said, like any quarterback, you start pressuring him, it gets worse. If Calgary's O-line, he's not feeling that.
Yeah,
BA spent a lot of time on the ground last year.
And this year, I don't know that I haven't looked at the counts, but I don't think he's been sacked more than maybe once a game at the most, if that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the sack where they are in sacks allowed, but I think that they're probably towards the bottom third anyways.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. So I think we're going to move on because we talked a lot about a lot of stuff there that wasn't Winnipeg, Calgary. So let's go to game 3 where Saskatchewan 33 at BC 27. And this was a game where, like I said, me having the starting quarterbacks in really showed up for Saskatchewan. Harris had a couple of bad games in a row, and he was on this one. He was picking apart the BC defense pretty much at will through this stuff. And we still end up with a 6-point game because of some weirdness. But that was a game that I never felt like there was a chance BC was going to come back and win that. They didn't look up to it at all. And Rourke did look average. He was missing. He had a week kind of like Bo had the week before. He was low, he was high, he was...
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I wrote down BC 2-and-out, Saskatchewan scores. BC fumbles, Saskatchewan field goal. BC almost intercepted, and then Saskatchewan scores again at 17-1. The game's over. It's 10 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And I stopped watching it because it was like, I could watch this later, and then I didn't even bother to go back to it because it felt the same way. Old man, you just knew that this game was over. I mean, there was no way that BC was going to come back to win that game. And sure, the score they got close, but it was obviously flattered them in the end.
The Riders didn't punt until the 4th.
Yes. See, and to me, that's a better strategy than not running early. Montreal didn't run until the second half, basically. Saskatchewan not punting till the second half. That's a good strategy.
Not even the second half, like the 4th.
You
played 3 quarters of ball without punting.
One thing that I've noticed that I'll say as well is watching AJ run. Well, first of all, I was a little confused because they were having a lot of success to the right side and very little to the left, but 3/4 of the runs, they were going left. So they saw something they thought they saw there, but didn't have it. But it's really, can really see the influence of Andrew Harris on AJ's game with Harris coaching him. He's looking a lot more like Harris running the ball in just the way that he presses that line with a little bit of patience and then picks the hole at the last moment and doesn't necessarily run into contact anymore. We'll try and give people like a half of his body to hit so he can spin and get more yards. I think if you took a tape of Harris running when he was at his best and some of AJ's better runs right now, they'd look almost interchangeable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I didn't see it, but I can believe it. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. And Oliveira learned the same way, and he's now looking like it, so I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised at all. And they had a really good relationship when they were together in Toronto. So that coaching probably a little bit started there and has continued. So it makes perfect sense.
Feel free to jump in on any of these. We were talked about how the roughing penalties are there and how players got to hold up. I was a little bit annoyed when Baldonado got that roughing penalty where Rourke came and slid and basically he tried to hold up and bumped his shoulder into him, but you could see he was bracing his arms around him, trying to take off, make sure there's no hit on him. And they called that as a as roughing the passer. And yet I've seen more vicious ones than that waved off because they said, oh, he should have been sliding earlier. So I'd like to see more consistency in that. Any thoughts?
I don't know I didn't see it again, but I would say my only comment would be is it might be a bit of who the quarterback is. It's not just the situation, but it's the old superstar gets the call in the NBA, right? And the same guy coming off the bench does the exact same move. That's not going to be a foul.
Yeah, that's quite possible. They were talking about Joe Robustelli, who's the rookie receiver or second-year receiver for the Riders. And what a story. I guess he played tackle football at like minor balls, 12, 13, 14 years old. And he was so small that he thought, I can't take this. And he went away from it and started playing flag and ended up playing flag until he was in his 20s. One of the, I think a coach for him or something said, you are good enough, you should be playing better. So he's played one term of university tackle, and that's got him enough experience that the Riders brought him to a mini camp, and he impressed them, and now he's out there and he's looking very good on some of those catches. So you never know where somebody's going to come into the game from.
Yeah. Well, flag, it's all offense that game. So you would be getting a lot of reps catching.
Yes. Although I think they asked him about it, and he did mention that it took a while to get used to the bruises.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, the other bad news from this game was that Kadeem Carey was in as a backup running back and was injured badly, and not on a play that was a dirty play or anything, just one of those ones where it's caught up. He was bad. I was impressed. They brought the card out for him, and he basically waved it off, said, I'll go off on a couple of teammates' shoulders and along. I'm not going to be carried off this field. So there was that. But until we hear, I don't think he's going to be available again.
He's out for the season.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Reports.
That makes sense. And that's unfortunate.
I expected to see pieces of his knee on the field. Like they showed it once, a replay one time, and then wouldn't even show it from different angles. It was so bad. And I was like, I wonder if they're calling Kevin Brown right now.
They announced today that they signed one of the running backs they had in camp.
Okay.
Anderson.
I just feel so bad for Carey.
Anderson, I think. Yeah.
What a poor guy. I feel awful for him.
Yes, because I was really looking forward to seeing him as part of that backfield.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, one other thing. I thought Patrice Rene for BC, he was a starter in the defensive backfield last year. They've moved him to special teams. He certainly isn't sulking about that. He is playing some magnificent ball on the coverage teams and whatnot. I don't know how many times I saw him making plays down there. So credit where it's due. And let's see, was there anything else that I took notes about on there? Just this. Apparently, Trevor Harris had the record for the most 300-yard games in CFL history, and then he extended it by one game this one. So every time he throws a 300-yard game from now on, it'll be a new record until he's done. Yeah, but sum it up, a team that was Saskatchewan seemed like a team that was ready to play even on the road, and BC just didn't seem to quite have it.
So at one point, I was so mad at the BC defense. And my husband's a BC Lions fan. We were so mad at the BC defense. I looked up their safety, and I was like, where is Christophe whatever. I said his name wrong. Anyway, I'm like, where is he from? Because I was mad. And I was like, he's from Laval. I'm like, no, you would not be playing free safety this badly if you're from Laval. So I blame Mike Benavides for this.
Well, Bellevue's made some good plays earlier this season, but just that whole back end is not looking very good.
And then I have another Reeves hit Rourke helmet to helmet. So boys, stop it. That's enough. And my last note my note for the game was, is Bryce a cardboard cutout?
Okay.
I'm just wondering if is he
really there is what you're saying? Yeah,
I think he just might be a cardboard cutout on the sideline. I don't actually convinced he's a real person sometimes.
Or some random dude they dress each week and just say, keep your helmet on.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. They're going to have to figure something out there in BC. It's good for them that Edmonton is playing as bad as they are, but it's hard to see BC knocking off one of the other three teams and getting into the playoffs unless there's somehow a crossover.
BC is very fortunate that there are 3 terrible East teams right now.
Yeah. But this is the CFL, so week
Anything can
18
happen.
we're going to be talking about if they win next week, they'll take they'll have the West
Yeah.
for themselves. All right, one more game, one more to talk
All right.
about. Hamilton 30 at Ottawa 27. Did I have that
Ottawa
score right?
15.
15, yeah. I thought I got that. I thought that it was
Yeah.
a lot worse than that. Yeah, Ottawa 15. Anybody want to jump in on this one? The only thing I really had to put was the hit, and we already did that. So go ahead.
I just want to say that my entire night was ruined by that hit. I was having a great time, and then that happened, and then Bob Dice, good for him. You saw him calling out the
Yeah.
officials and basically the league, and are like, are we protecting QBs or we're not? And then everyone's like, well, Drew didn't have his head strap done up. And I'm like, yeah, but he still hit him in the head with
Yeah.
his helmet. It doesn't matter. It's like a mitigating circumstance. But and then Amos was tweeting, I'll take the critique about my technique, but not that I'm a dirty player or that I had malicious intent. And I'm like all of you are misbehaving so badly. Just stop it. There's a lot of field goals. Like Legio's got 28 straight field goals. I mean, Bo's top 10 in the passing. Now he passed Tracy Ham. So that's good for him. But honestly, this game was kind of sad. It was just kind of sad. There was a lot of field goals and
Ottawa kind of kept it close for a lot longer than they kind of deserve to be with 5 field goals. But it was, I will say this about the hit. The thing about that hit was that was a blitz that was coming. That was so obvious it was coming. It was ridiculous. They lined up, and as they lined up, I said, that's a blitz coming. You could see Amos lined up off on the side. And then as soon as he started, I was like, this is not a good thing about to happen here. And no one in Ottawa even looked like they knew he was there. And yet I could see it on the television screen. They are hurting themselves in so many ways, this Ottawa team. They just continue to do it. Now, the hit was horrendous, but they should have been able to pick him up. There should have been somebody there to get to him before he was even able to make that hit. Yes, and then there's no excuse for it, whether your helmet's on or not, properly or not. There's just, when it's knocked off that much, it got hit improperly. That's all there was to it. I thought Crum looked pretty good when he came out and was 10 for 10 and led them down the field quite a few times. But I think Hamilton was giving them those over the middle kind of 10 and 15-yard passes were more than content to allow Ottawa to just do that and get field goals, not touchdowns, which is what they did. I've got way too many examples of things that they just did wrong, that every time it seemed like they did something right, it was, one step forward, 2 steps back. And they just continue to take a penalty, do something dumb, hurt themselves. There was one where they got a kickoff. They had a nice return, holding all the way back to their own 15-yard line. Next play, interception, touchdown, Hamilton. It's just one more thing, and they just do it all the time. And again, I guess there was an interview on the sports station in Ottawa today with Sean Burke, and I don't think he said anything. I haven't heard any news come out of that yet that said, there's going to be any changes. I think, if anything, that Drew Brown hit Amos saved Dice's job for another week, because now he can say, hey, I don't have my quarterback. What do you want me to do? Right? Otherwise, if they had a loss like that same game with Drew Brown instead of Dustin Crum, definitely he would have been on the firing block.
Yeah.
What's Ottawa's coach's cap at looking like? I wonder.
You get one mulligan, right, with the coaching cap anyway, so they can afford to let him go. And you can write one salary off on the next year's cap. So they could let him go this year, not only give a small amount of money extra to Rick Campbell to coach the rest of this year, and then find somebody, if it's Rick Campbell or not, again for next year. Who's the next assistant coach that should be a head coach?
Yeah,
I would
DC in Montreal. DC in Montreal is the only.
No, I would pick Jarius Jackson.
Yeah,
could be. The thing is, it does seem to me that it's coaching errors, because it's got to be culture or something there.
Yeah.
They played. I honestly think Ottawa played probably 4/5 of the snaps in that game well enough to win the game. But then, like you say, GT, when they need it, they manage to find a way to screw it up.
Yep.
And that never gets them over the top. The defense didn't play that badly.
Nope.
And like you said, Crum moved the ball some, but they just, anytime they started getting some momentum going, there would be a penalty or there would be just a block absolutely missed, just killing a drive. Or it just doesn't feel like a team that's really focused.
By all accounts, word on the street is that players love Bob Dice. So I don't know what's happening.
Players loved Craig Dickinson in Saskatchewan, and look what happened.
Yeah, that's true. Tommy Condell's also another one that I don't understand why he's there.
Condell wasn't the answer in Ottawa. You'd think maybe he was last year when he looked like it was okay, or I should say in Hamilton he was never the answer. And then last year in Ottawa it looked like, okay, maybe it's to change the scenery, maybe it's working, but it's apparent. It's just apparent that it's not working. He's at least running the ball, which he never used to do in Hamilton. At least Adam Aboye had a decent game the other night. As I say, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and it's not, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, I should say. And they just always come out on the short end.
Well, it said a lot to me about their mindset going into the game that the very first pass play was a 7-yard pass that was broken up, and Dice challenged it for PI.
Yeah.
And he won the challenge.
He won.
But still, so he gets another challenge. But that's a hell of a risk to take first play of the game on something that is not a scoring play, nothing. So
I think Bob was just
know.
going for gusto. Like he kind of, I feel like he might have known his last game. Like he did that. He was like calling, like TSC, he called out the stuff about Drew Brown at the halftime interview. Like he just did not care. Like he was like, I'm just going to do it.
Now, one other thing that just, certain plays impressed me. And I was very impressed by Miller for Ottawa when they tried that little side screen to him that was almost intercepted, got knocked backwards, and it was a lateral. And he was the only one that reacted to it. And even you could see even him picking up, hesitating, should I be doing this? And didn't quite get back to the line of scrimmage, but he saved them 10 or 15 yards. And we've seen touchdowns come out of receivers just walking away from that. So I like players that are heads up. That gives me some hope that there's players like that still on the team, just not enough of them.
See, I think they have the talent, and I really do think that a lot of people suspected going into the season they were going to be much better. I just think it's coaching. I really just think it's whether they love the coach or not, they're not getting the coaching that tells them this is what you should be doing. They may be getting all the hugs and pats on the back they deserve, but they're not getting the high level coaching that's really just making them accountable. They just don't seem to be getting it.
It looks like a bunch of talented individuals, not a team.
Yeah.
Well, Jirius turned those Elks team around last year, so maybe he's the guy to call.
Yeah, he could be. And I only had one other comment, which I think MJ will appreciate on my notes. It was Bo and Tim. Oh. I mean, 10-yard passes, 5-yard passes, but it's either Bo hits Tim in the hands and the frying pans come out and bat it around, or he's 10 yards off of the route that they're running. Or I almost feel bad for them.
He got 10 passes to him, but I think that Ottawa, I will give them props. I think they had Kenny covered really well because he only had 6 attempts. So good job, Ottawa defense. You made us throw to Tim White, and we still won, but Tim... the White was the top receiver for the Ticats that game.
Well, they were throwing to him a lot, but it was all short stuff. I'll have to look and see, what his completion ratio was and what the yards were. But there were at least 2 or 3 times they tried to go deep to him, and it was just one way or another did not work.
Honestly. And then O'Leary Orange had one go right through his hands, and this score could have been much worse. So Hamilton's got to clean it up a bit here.
Yeah. And like you said, they only threw to Lawler 6 times, so he only had one stupendous, incredible touchdown catch.
Yeah.
Did anyone, speaking of which, did anyone catch the the opening. I guess it wouldn't have been the pregame show. It had to be just before the game when on the set at TSN when they opened with Milt just talking to a little Kenny Lawler doll.
Yes, telling him
Wasn't
not
that brilliant?
to. Well, and then someone's like, but Alfredson's also projected to beat Milt too, so he's got to talk to two dolls now.
Yeah, it's good to have Milt back.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it was really nice to have him back. And then also, I guess we didn't talk about the Bombers game, but they did a tribute to like Milt to welcome him back
Yeah.
and got a standing ovation, and it was really, really lovely.
Yeah, I got goosebumps during that ovation for Milt. They just love him so much in that town.
Yeah.
They do. Can I say something else quickly about that I didn't talk about in that Winnipeg game? Okay, we get it. You have people in the stands. The fans are fans. Enough of the crowd shots, especially the same people time after time after. Enough. We get it. There's people in the stands. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is about Winnipeg. And I love the fact that they're there and that they sell out every game and everything else. But enough of the crowd shots.
Does the Rum Hut sponsor package include that they have to show them so many times on broadcast?
I
don't
think
know.
maybe. I don't know. I'll be snarky and say the CFL is just happy to have a game with the full stadium that they can
That's
show
it.
pictures of because they're
Yeah.
afraid to anywhere else.
I think that's exactly what it is. Like I say, we get it. You've got a sold out building, but you know what?
Wish they would do the TikTok live games from Princess Auto instead of at BMO Field.
Yeah.
I
That
think it
would
would
be
be more
fun.
fun. Be more fun.
Yes. All right. I think that's beat this to death. We've it was a fun week, not necessarily a great week of football, but a fun week to talk about. But we'll have to move on and see what we can predict for next week. And here's the thing. I did finally go back and look at what we're doing. So as I told you at the start of the season, I put whatever our consensus is, I put into the pick'em, and we'll see where we end up there. And then I'm keeping our individual ones. So as of right now, the show is 18 out of 27. 18 points out of the 27 games that have been played. That
Not
puts
bad.
us at exactly 2/3, 66.6666 going on forever. Old man here, the pundit, the man who's supposed to know all of his football, is 15 out of 27. So that puts me at just over chance, 55.5%. GT is 19 out of 27 for 70.4%. And MJ is 20 out of 27 for 74.5. So you are the current leader in the standings. Nice job.
It's about
Maybe
the
I'm going to let you
balance.
pick first and just follow you from now on.
Do you enjoy vibe-based picking?
There we go. Whatever you're doing, it's working. So let's go on. Hopefully I've got all these ones right now. Thursday night, Montreal's in Calgary. It looks like it's going to be MBT unless I haven't heard who they're practicing. Maybe they'll go to Caleb Evans the way MBT's been playing. But it won't be Alexander. I know that. Predictions, people. Who wants to go first?
Oh, Calgary.
I'm not betting against Calgary until further notice.
I'm picking Calgary till somebody shows they can beat them. So, yeah, we're all on Calgary.
It's belt buckle time.
I am worried about that defense from Montreal with all their blitzing. That's the one thing that worries me. That will VA have the time to find those things? I'm not worried about Calgary's defense stopping Montreal. I think it's just going to be could be a low scoring tight game, not necessarily a blowout like the last few games have been.
Yeah. And I think with Calgary's running game, they're going to be able to run enough that it'll keep the blitzing off balance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, who knows? The next night, Friday, Edmonton goes into Saskatchewan. And let's see, 2 weeks ago, BC beat up on Edmonton. Last week, Saskatchewan beat up on BC. So you'd think Saskatchewan will beat up on Edmonton, and it would make sense, but I just, Rider fan too long. I don't know. I'm going to pick the Riders in this because it's the obvious choice, and frankly, I'll probably end up loading up on them on my fantasy team against that Edmonton defense. But I am a little on pins and needles just because too long being a Rider fan. Anybody else going to go after Edmonton, or
is this the ultimate trap game or not? So I just I'm taking the Riders for sure. Absolutely Riders.
So, Mark Killam will not say who is starting. It was said today that Fajardo and Ford are splitting first team reps.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it
That's
interesting.
is that an elk shirt you got on there, though?
Oh yeah, this is my Elks Indigenous logo shirt that I got for my birthday a couple years ago.
Cool. Very nice.
It is my favorite CFL logo. I wish this was their. I was telling GT before the show, I wish this was their logo all the time. Just like I wish the BC Lions Indigenous logo was their logo all the time. Like they're just
exactly.
amazing. I want to know how much Edmonton has cleaned this up. I think though Harris is they're coming off a good game against BC, and I don't know if Edmonton's going to play any better than BC. Edmonton signed 3 new DBs this week. Are they going to be ready to play? One of them's from Montreal. 2 of them have NFL experience. I wonder if they... Oh, sorry, I'm taking forever because I have to think this out. But I think the Riders will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Edmonton cleans it up enough maybe that whoever they're playing next week, they might have a shot. But I'll say Riders this week.
Okay, good. Yeah, especially bringing in new DBs. DB is probably the position after the O-line where it's the hardest to just step in and play because you're part of an existing team group that has to communicate so well. But we'll see. So even though the Elks shirt is on, you're going Saskatchewan. Okay.
I know.
Yes.
I mean, strange things happen, but I think that they're just such a mess right now.
Yeah, I agree. And you said you got that for the birthday. It was this old man's birthday this last week, creeping closer to Methuselah all the time. So I got a bunch of new Saskatchewan wear and stuff like this. But I also got, look, it's a Thor hammer.
Goodness.
Okay. Saturday, Winnipeg at Toronto.
This is the toughest one of the week to pick.
Agreed.
I'm read today that Zach is taking first team reps, so he will be playing on Saturday. I read today that Kelly was practicing, but I don't know what the results of that were. Yeah, I'm going to take Toronto.
Okay, I'm going to let you go, MJ, because I'm struggling with this one, so I want to hear what you say first, too.
So, Zach is back at practice. Is this another situation where they've rushed a QB back too soon? He says he's fine. Is he fine?
Mm-hmm.
Chad, they did imaging today. They don't have the results yet. So, but he was doing some practicing.
I just checked it. They still show him limited.
Toronto played well for 3 quarters this last game. Winnipeg looked, I don't know, is it like, are they bad or does Calgary just make them look silly? Like, what's the for chaos factor, I will pick Toronto.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Winnipeg has played, where are they at now? They're at 5 games because of the extra buys, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they played BC twice, who hasn't been playing great. They played Edmonton. Winnipeg beat them, but even though Edmonton gave them a game. And other than that, I'm trying to think Calgary and then Calgary twice, who is obviously a very good team and beat up on them. So they played sort of the lowest end and the highest end. It's awful hard to tell. For some reason, Toronto also matches up well against Winnipeg. So I'm going Toronto as well. We'll see if Winnipeg makes a fool of us. And I agree with you, GT, that game is probably the toughest one to decide, but this other one isn't going to be easy either, just because of the location. Hamilton at BC.
Yeah, I think it's not as big a deal to go into BC as it used to be because the games are now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon local time, not 7 o'clock, which means that for the Eastern teams, it's a 7 o'clock in the evening game, just like they're normally used to playing. It's not a 10 o'clock start like it used to be for the Eastern teams when they fly in there. So I think that's a big, big difference. And Bo and Kenny together on a closed surface in, if the weather's perfect indoors, no matter what. And BC's defense. I can't see BC winning this game. I'm taking Hamilton.
We're waiting for the Hamilton input now, MJ.
BC's going to have to deal with Talbot and Castatonis. Talbot had 2 interceptions, 6 tackles. Castatonis had 1 interception, 6 tackles. I mean, it's Ottawa, but BC's not playing. Kenny and Bo are gonna, maybe Tim White can catch when there's no crosswind. Maybe that's his issue. I don't think that the O-line's for BC is going to be playing any better. I think Hamilton's going to, yeah, and it's a 4 p.m. start. It's not an advantage anymore for BC, so Hamilton.
And to me, there is still a bit of an advantage just because that is a long trip to make. But I don't think it's enough to make up the difference for BC. They are still struggling. And at Hamilton, defense is getting better and better. I've taken to calling Katsantonis Schrodinger's safety, because it's a little bit of a physics joke, but the whole thing about Schrodinger's cat, they talk about in an electron or in an atom, you've got your neutrons and protons and then the electrons circling it. And the electrons are everywhere all at once until you look at them. And when you observe them, they suddenly lock into place and they're right there. And that feels like what Katsantonis is. He's everywhere in that backfield he could possibly be until they throw the ball, and then he's right there.
Yeah.
You know, he appears where he needs to be. Sorry, physics jokes go very well in football. Anyway, so that's it. There's our picks. I think this is the first week we're all in full agreement. So it'll be the first week we go 0-4. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be.
It is the CFL. I am here for the chaos. Any last thoughts or your social media so people can follow you for your insights?
What little you can find of me, you will find on Blue Sky at GT Barnum at bluesky.social, or however it pans out from there, but I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at Sports and Plants. I am obnoxious on there right now because the Blue Jays are first in the AL East and the Ticats are first in the East Division for the CFL.
It's been a good week for me to be light on Blue Sky then, with all the traveling I've been doing and everything. I've missed you being
unbearable.
obnoxious.
I'm unbearable and I don't even care.
I'm proud of you for being unbearable. And I'm oldman-SAC on Blue Sky. We've got the CFL Outsiders on both Blue Sky and X. And the show email is oldman, all one word, .shoutingatclouds, all one word, at shaw.ca. And that pretty much wraps it up. So looking forward to what could be another great weekend of CFL. This is week 8, so 21-game season. Week 7 was officially a third of the way through the season, and we still don't know what the hell's happening. Have a good week, everybody. For MJ and GT, this is Old Man saying, until next week, get the hell off my lawn.